Hey folks, John with Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. All right, so I had a couple people that were asking questions about Batocera in general, and a few little basic things, tips and tricks that you can use along the way to kind of make your experience flow a little bit better, and more importantly, if you should run into issues, how to get over them. So here we go, let's have some fun. All right, guys, so we're going to just jump right into this thing. I had a customer that had called me up that had picked up one of the game systems a while back, and he couldn't get Choplifter to run. Now, a lot of you guys, if you've ever dealt with Batocera, you know that you're not dealing with one emulator. You're actually dealing with a series of hundreds of different emulators. The trick is knowing how to switch between the emulators if one doesn't function. Now, I will tell you also, that applies to game controls. So if you run one emulator on, say, Mortal Kombat, and the game runs fine, but the buttons are all janky, switch to a different emulator. It will have different mappings on the buttons. Also, in some consoles, you can actually remap the buttons to your liking. So if you're playing GameCube or something like that, you can change the GameCube settings to where you like the controls. It's pretty simple. That is one of the beauties of Batocera, is how flexible this thing is. Now, we're just going to jump into this. Guys, we're going to have to do this low tech, so please bear with me. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn my TV around, and I'm going to angle Stumpy at the TV. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are we going to do it this way instead of a video capture card? Well, the reason we're going to do it this way, guys, has everything to do with the fact that I need to show you button presses as we're doing this, okay? So, I want to give you an example. Now, one of the things also he was trying to figure out is how to search for the games. All right, so if you go into the All Games folder, and as you can see we're in All Games, we're going to press A, and you'll get a massive list of games, okay? So let's start with a very basic question of how to actually search out the games, okay? So, as you can see from here, we're in the All Games folder. From the All Games folder, if you press A, it'll take you into the folder. Anywhere in here, so your start and your back button they're totally different menus. Each one does different things. So if you're inside of the All Games menu and you hit the back button, you're going to get a view option to search. From here, you can go down to jump to a game beginning by letter. So in this case, you can see I went to C. And when you do that, it jumps you to the beginning of the C's. From that point, you can scroll down individually or use your shoulders to go down by page. All right? So we're going to scroll down here to Choplifter, and we'll look at the MAME version because that was the one I believe he was looking at. Now, it's good in one respect because you can actually search out all of the games individually as they do span multiple systems on different games, okay? But it does get a little confusing, and one thing I'm going to show you guys, if you hit that back button and you search for specific text, so if you search for Choplifter, okay, it will give you all of the things that match Choplifter, but the next time you go in there, all it's going to show you is Choplifter until you clear that block. So remember, if you search by text after you found the game, clear that block. If you don't clear it, that's all you're ever going to see again. So, all right, so let's go down here and let's find our Choplifter for MAME. All right, so this is Choplifter for MAME. As you can see, this is the game over here. And we're going to launch the game. Now, let me show you what happens when it fails, all right? We're going to hit the button. We're going to let it launch. Excuse the blanking on this TV. It does that from time to time. And it goes right back to the screen. Wah, wah, wah. All right, now, if you press and hold the A button on the game, so find the game you want, press and hold the button to launch the game. One of the options on the right over here is Advanced Game Options. All right, you hit Advanced Game Options, hit the A. Emulator. Change your emulator. Now from here is where you can change this up in order to get the game to run, because it may run perfectly on one emulator, but not on another. So let's just say we go to Libreto MAME, okay? We're going to hit A, and now that has been set, okay? So we're going to hit B to go back, or you can just hit back down here, okay? Back. Now we're going to try to launch the game again. If the game launches, you're good to go. If the game doesn't launch, you change to the next emulator in the lineup. However, this is looking interesting. All right, so we're going to change to the next one. There we go. We're going to go down to Advanced Game Options. We're going to change it to MAME 139 and launch the game. And you can see how quick that is, guys. You can go through this pretty darn quick. And there you go. Now the game is launching. So this has everything to do with the emulator and how it plays, and not the fact that the ROM doesn't like the particular emulator it's trying with. So you can change this around at will. And that's not to say that this is the only emulator that'll work. Probably one of the other ones would also work. So this is going through all of its normal checks like it always would. The way they're designed on these guys, if you go into an arcade game and you plug it into the wall, it would go through all these tests. They're designed to emulate exactly what the arcade would do. So what you're seeing is actually normal. This is what this arcade would do when you first turned it on in the arcade. Then it will go to the title screen. So that's one thing about Batocera that is kind of cool, guys. It gives you the real experience of being in an arcade, which I've always thought was pretty neat. So, and little stuff like that is what counts. And as you can see, we got Choplifter. As a reminder, your back and your start still do things, guys. Your back button puts in coins, entering coins, your start button starts, and bam, you're in the game. Just like that. To get out of the game, your back and your start together. And as you can see, it goes right back out into the game system itself. Now, certain game systems like GameCube have got a built-in emulator that's designed specifically for Batocera, but it's built on the back of a program called RetroArch. RetroArch allows you also to configure your controls from within each one of the individual systems. Now, if you have all of the games on GameCube should be running, because honestly, the new emulator is just absolutely stellar on this thing. But in other words, so if you go into Four Swords Adventure, we're just going to let it launch. By the way, you guys might notice that I don't have audio turned on for this. There's just no need to really have it. Yeah, so, but it is working. All right, there we go. And as you can see, we can hit our start button and start the game and play normally, okay? Some of these will allow you to change control options from within the game system itself. Some of them will not. So once again, to get out of the game, these two buttons together, that'll take you back out of the game into whatever you were looking at, which in this case was the GameCube folder. Now, one thing you can do, if by some weird chance the emulator's acting kind of funky on this or you want to change it, take a look, guys. Remember what I told you. You're inside the menu for the GameCube right now. If you hit the back button, brings up a menu. One of the options, recognize that, Advanced System Options. Go down to Advanced System Options, and here is where you can change your emulators for GameCube. So, if by some weird chance you do get something like that, you can actually change it there as well. One other handy tip that's nice to know about these, and this isn't just for GameCube, it's for all of them. If you have got a 4K or higher TV, it tends to try to force Batocera to upscale everything to 4K and even 8K. If it does that, it has a tendency to slow down the games. So, if you are seeing a slowdown in some games, in your options menu, we talked about this before, go into your Advanced System Options, and one of the options down here is video mode to set the resolution. Now, like I said, by default, it's trying to go to whatever the TV is, but you can actually set this to whatever resolution you want to based on what TV you have. In my experience, most of the retro games are going to run at 720 or less, and half of these were written back when 300 by 200 was a thing. So, yeah, you can set that resolution down if you're seeing any kind of a slowdown on the system. But as you can see, there are a ton of different options you can do in there, guys. I mean, you can literally change everything on this thing, from aspect ratios to bilinear filtering, which will smooth out the games, to decorations. All of this is things that you can actually change within the system, and you're not going to damage the system using them, which is another really cool thing. Now, I want to show you another really cool thing, guys. You're going to like this. If you've got Batocera and you are connected to the internet, all right, if you go ahead and hit your start button, go down to updates and downloads, all right. Everything you see in this, and I want to show you this again. See where it says content downloader? So when you go to updates and downloads, content downloader is where you want to be. Go into the content downloader. Everything you see here can be added. These are new games, new functions, and new products for Batocera that you can download at will, and they come out a lot. So you can see some of these have not been downloaded, and a lot of them have been downloaded. That's because I actually update these to full. Like, these are games that have already been added on if they're checkmarked on here. But check this menu often, because it will change. But by the way, look here. Cheat files. cheat files. So yes, that's a new one. It wasn't on there before. But as you can see, it changes. There's all kinds of things you can add onto it. You can also change your theme here if you want to make it look different. I wouldn't mess with that because there are some themes that will cause the system to run sluggish, and you don't want that. It's just not necessary. This is the perfect theme for this one. So, all right. Now that we know how to change emulators, and that works for every single game system, you can change the emulator on the fly. You now know what causes it to slow down, which is that if it's trying to upscale up to 4K or 8K, it can slow down some of the games. The next thing to keep in mind, guys, is if you are running on one of these newer TVs, turn off game mode on your HDMI port, and generally that'll stop that upscaling. It'll stop it from forcing up. So that's one thing I wanted to let you guys know about. It will save you a little bit of time in the future. Now, here's another cool thing. If you've got Batocera installed, all right, and I'm going to use, let's just say, Nintendo as an example. All right, you got your keyboard, right? Plug in a keyboard and a mouse to this thing. You're going to need it anyway because you have a whole bunch of Windows games and stuff on here anyway. Press F1 on your keyboard, and it's going to drop you out of the menu and into the actual programming of Batocera. Now, guys, be careful what you delete in here. But what I want to show you in particular is under Applications, and I got to get the mouse that actually functions. Hold on here. Oh, where's my mouse? Give me a sec, guys. I got to move my little desk here. It slid back. Okay, there we go. All right. Under Applications, and you're going to see Dolphin. Now, all of these are the emulators. Now, do you remember when I told you that GameCube is one of them that is controlled by RetroArch? That is RetroArch config right there. You can literally go into RetroArch config and remap your controllers. More importantly, if you go to Dolphin, check this out. This is a list of games that are not actually on the root menu. So all of these games are installed. You may have to play around with the controllers a little bit and get your controllers put where you want them, but all of these are on here as well. So yes, after this, to get out of this, think of it just like a PC. Alt F4 will close the current window, like so. And then Alt F4 will close the current window and put you back into the game system, like so. All right. Those are some of the tips. Now, we're going to be doing this a lot, guys. I'm going to put out periodic videos on Batocera as they do updates. The next video is going to show you how to add and remove your own programs using your game system on your network. Now, generally speaking, at least any of the ones that I build, they've got their own hard drive. So the primary hard drive is actually running Windows 11. Once you've got that, you go into Windows 11, you open up your My Computer, and you'll see a share disk. Inside that share folder is the ROMs folder. That is all of the games that are on a system, okay? Individually in the ROMs folder, it's literally broken down by game system. So it'll say Amiga, Atari, 2600, 2052, whatever. All you have to do inside each one of those folders, I've got a little text file in there. Read the text file. It tells you what kind of file to dump in. If you want to add your own games and you don't want to wait for updates in the future, that's how you do it. You can literally add and remove your own games from right there. So feel free to play around with it, guys. So take the knowledge from Batocera that you've learned and play around with it. You cannot do more damage that can't be repaired in a couple minutes, so don't stress that. So, guys, thank you so much. This is one of our Batocera little kind of intros and tips and tricks. We're going to do a lot of them in the future. I will also try to do something like this for Recalbox and RetroPie at some point in the future for you guys, if that's something you're interested in, because there are a lot of things they can do too that this can't, and a lot that this can do that they can't. So, yeah. Have a fantastic week, guys, and be safe out there. Bye-bye.